Hey boys and girls, this is Scotty the Redneck Canadian. Welcome to my channel, Scotty's Homestead University, where I try not to swear and offend liberals, and hopefully you learn something. So today, usually I'm like talking about solar panels and living off the grid and stuff like that. But today I'm out in my pole barn here, and I've been getting it cleaned up because I kind of let it go. And but check out the view out here. Hopefully you can see. Other than that big pile of stuff from the ice storm in that branch. Still a lot of ice storm damage, but it's a cool place to hang out. Anyway, and I got a bunch of guitars back here, and fun stuff. Anyway, yeah, I was hanging out, and I'm like, you know what? I think the reason I don't hang around here that much is because my beloved Harman Kardon receiver took a dump, and you can see I kind of took it apart to see if I could figure out if something obviously was wrong. And I started looking for a replacement receiver, and I found these Class D amplifiers. This is some pretty crazy stuff. So let's talk about Class D amplifiers and whether they're any good. All right, so here is my Harman Kardon. This is, I believe, a Class AB. And, it's got a big transformer and some big capacitors and all that fun stuff in there. And, I mean, this thing sounded great. I just looked up the specs on it. It was 55 watts per channel in stereo. They had a review on it. They gave it like 4.5 out of 5 stars. Dude, it was a good receiver and it sounded great. So I've got a Polk 10-inch subwoofer. And then those are like 2 6.5s and a tweeter. I don't remember what those are, but those are Polk speakers. Like, this wasn't the highest of the high end, but it definitely was not junk back in the day. And it really sounds good. So I thought, I don't know, 25 years ago, whenever I bought this stuff, that was like pretty much, unless I was going to spend thousands upon thousands of dollars, it was as good a sound as I was going to get. So now I start watching some videos and I find this thing. This thing here is an entire amplifier with preamp. It has Bluetooth, it has USB, and it has a set of RCA in. So, like, literally, this is a DVD player, which obviously runs CDs. That's my whole entire system. It replaces, like, an entire rack unless you want to put a turntable and a tape deck. This thing's rated. It's crazy. What it's rated at. Where is it? 160 watts by 2 going into 4 ohms. So, yeah, is this thing any good? We're going to find out. All right, so this is a bunch of CDs that I ripped. This is Zakk Wylde's first solo album. But I'm like, 160 watts by 2. That's crazy. That's like 2/3. I mean, that is as loud as that ever was. Clean. It's pretty loud in here, I'm not gonna lie. So, is it a good replacement? Yes and no. Let's talk about it. So before we get really into it, the one thing that really intrigued me about these Class D amplifiers, everything in here is like completely off the grid. I no longer have a hookup to the power co-op. Everything is solar. And if you look on my solar videos, everything runs at 48 volts nominal, so a little bit more. Class D amplifiers actually run off straight DC, which was totally cool with me because one of my videos that I did was talking about inverter loss and how going from DC to AC loses like 10 to 12%, closer to 12. And then a lot of times you're going back to DC anyways, like to run electronics and stuff like that. So I did a video on how to do things straight DC. So these Class D amplifiers really kind of piqued my interest because I was like, wait a minute. In the middle of winter, if I'm trying to conserve power, which my stuff works, so I really don't have to, but I'm still stingy about it. I can sit here with straight DC lighting and run my stereo system in my CD player listening to music and not even have an inverter on, but that'd be pretty cool, right? So there is a downside to this. I'm going to tell you that right now. Going from that, because that's been in this room for, I don't know, since I built it pretty much several years now. Going from that to that Class D, I could immediately notice a difference. The difference, I guess I would call it cold. The mid-ranges, the voice, I don't know, it just sounded better with that old school amplifier. And so I originally thought, well, that's a cheap, shitty CD or DVD player. It's probably got a crappy DAC in it, digital audio conversion. If you're watching this, I'm just gonna assume you know like what I'm talking about. All right. So I thought maybe it had a shitty DAC in it. But then I was like, man, how does this thing? I wanted to know how it worked. How does Class D stuff work? So it's funny because there is a pretty big crossover between the technology and those inverters that I was just talking about and these Class D amplifiers. So let's and that's why it sounds cold and not warm. Okay. All right. So this is an inverter here. Okay. My understanding of how these work, the old school Class A and Class AB, more so Class A, is they are on amplifying everything all the time, whether or not there's sound coming into it. And that's why this thing is so huge, and it's got heat sinks and everything to dissipate the heat, because it's like super not efficient. Okay. And that's why, whatever I said, 55 watts per channel is this big, huge thing. Okay. Versus this here is super efficient. There's no heat sinks on it. It doesn't get hot, even though it's cranking these speakers at least as loud as the other one. Okay. And the reason for that is because it's super efficient. And the reason that it's super efficient, it is not on at all frequencies at all time. It switches on and off when it needs to, okay? Which is where we're getting to this thing. This thing. Okay, so this is a power inverter. Comes off your battery, right? And it inverts direct current to alternating current. Well, alternating current is what goes into your speakers that makes your voice coil go back and forth and gives you the cone, gives you sound, right? So AC from your wall gives you a nice, smooth up and down sine wave at 60 hertz, okay? This does not give you a nice, smooth sound wave at 60 hertz, sine wave. Okay, this is what's called a modified sine wave. So it uses what's called pulse width modulation, okay, and it makes it kind of square, but it's good enough to run most things. Now, if you run motors off of this because it's squared off and it's clipped, your motors aren't going to run as long as they would as if you put a nice smooth sound sine wave into it, okay? But that's how this thing works. This thing uses pulse width modulation and a bunch of switches in it, and it turns it on and off, turns it on and off, turns it on and off. But I think, pretty sure, that's why it kind of seems like it's a colder sound in the mid-ranges, okay? So what I did, that's the reason that I have my USB out here, is I wanted to not use the DAC. So I used the same CD track in this through the DAC, and then using that USB. So I don't know, I'm assuming there's some sort of a DAC in here for that USB. But it sounded exactly the same. And that was when I was like, okay, I'm going to figure out how this works. So there's really not much you can do unless maybe you use a preamp and you can do it. So are these things really worth it? Considering I paid $67 for that thing, I'm saying, yeah, it's worth it. Is it as good as sound quality? It's really close. But had I not gotten used to this in this room with these speakers, I'm not so sure I could tell the difference, I'll be honest. And, oh, there's a deer out there. Cool. And oh, there's a bunch of them out there. Anyway, I mean, come on, it's loud. It gives me music. It does sound really good, just not quite as good as that, but it uses a lot less power. Um, and I'm thinking my ears will just get used to it anyways. So if I was really worried about it, I could probably put a preamp on it and or an equalizer of some sort. I'm sure they make those, but I'm gonna I'm gonna give it a thumbs up. I really am. And now here's a tip if you're still watching. So, kind of the gold standard right now on these is Texas Instruments 3255 TPA 3255 chip. Yeah, if you want to get it for pretty much the same thing for even cheaper than what I paid for it, just Google TPA 3255 and you'll find knockoff brands, which I'm pretty sure are exactly the same. They probably come out of the same factory. They just don't have a name on them for even cheaper than that. So, all right. So if you're into the solar, cool. If not, oh well. Let's see. Where are my deer out there? Can you see them? There they are. So I'm gonna go back to watching the deer. And anyway, till next time, keep your sticks on the ice, eh? Do not bark at them. Do not bark at them. It's funny, as soon as I filled those up, they started coming.